So one of the frequent jobs that I'm asked to do by clients is to trace custom artwork so that they can have it professionally printed and hung in their restaurant locations. I do a lot of my graphic design for a company called Witch, and this artwork is printed on circular discs that are then hung on the walls inside of Witch locations. So for this video, I thought it'd be nice to show you how to trace complex artwork. Now, I'm not going to walk you through this step by step. Rather, I'm going to show you what to account for when you have some artwork that has a ton of detail and a lot going on. So let's take Vinny the Bulldog here. Vinny was hand drawn by one of my clients, and then they commissioned me to transfer this to Illustrator so that they could print it off. Now, upon looking at this, immediately you're drawn to the yellow. There's a lot of yellow and, of course, quite a bit of white. What I'm more interested in first, though, is the black. So you'll notice that the black is outlining Vinny. There's also a lot of black in the collar, as well as the lines that give the face and the body definition. And of course you have the nose and then these whisker spots here. So my first approach here would be to create an entirely black background. Now to do that, what I'd like to do is zoom in and then grab the pen tool, and really you can start placing anchor points anywhere. I personally like to start in a corner. It's easy to remember where I left off. But then you want to just start placing anchor points all the way around the perimeter of the object. Having such a nice defined outline for this artwork is very helpful. Now you're noticing that I'm kind of placing quite a few of these anchor points. You really don't need as many as I'm placing, but I'm going to show you how you can clear those out really quickly. Now I'm not going to go all the way around this in the interest of time, and basically I don't want to bore you to death. But we're going to just assume that these two areas represent the rest of the bulldog. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the direct selection tool by pressing A on the keyboard. And then I'm going to position each one of these anchor points where I want them. Now I've got snapping turned off, so you can choose Command U or Control U on a PC and turn that snapping off. And basically that gives you a little more flexibility on placing these anchor points exactly where you want. I'm going to zoom in just a hair. And you'll notice that I have a couple more anchor points here than I probably need. What we're going to do is convert all of these to a smooth anchor point. Now you'll notice that it messes things up pretty severely. That's all right. We're going to clean things up really quick. So I'm going to take a look at just one anchor point. So we'll just grab any one of these. I like to position my anchor points in a way where I can constrain the handles when necessary. So if I hold the Shift key down and grab a handle, I can constrain the movement on that to 45-degree angles. For this one, of course, I want it straight up and down. So I'm just going to drag that a little bit, and then I'm going to grab this top one, holding down the Shift key, and just bring it up a hair. Now you'll notice that I have a corner right here. I'm going to move this anchor point right on the corner. And then I'm going to take this anchor point and move it just over here. Now this corner, I want a little more definition, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key and grab this anchor point so that it can move freely. And then if I drag this out just so you can see it a little better, I can now move each anchor point independent of each other. So once I have a good angle there, I'm going to move it right back into place. I'm going to grab this one, and then we're going to hold down the Shift key and position it a little more like that. And then I'm just going to go through and get these anchor points just where I want them. Now, I don't want this little hook here on the outline, so I'm just going to make sure I don't use that. And we'll move this over just a hair with the arrow keys on the keyboard. And I can probably get away with losing one of these anchor points. So I'm just going to choose the minus key and then click that anchor point, and you'll notice that it's disappeared. Now this one, we're going to drop right into this corner right in place. And here we'd want to hold down the Alt key to position that as we would want to. For this anchor point, we're going to go ahead and lose this handle completely. Then I'm going to hold down the Shift key and bring this one out so I can constrain this handle to be flat. It's going to help with the definition there. And then I'm going to move these anchor points just a little bit. In fact, I could probably get rid of this one as well. The key to good tracing is to use as few anchor points as possible. And doing so gives you the smoothest paths in your artwork. This one, of course, we're going to hold down the Alt key and move that so we can make each handle independent of each other. And you'll notice that I've got a really good outline here for this tail. Now I've already gone ahead and traced this entire bulldog. I want to take a look at all of the different pieces that make up the bulldog, and then we'll see how they come together to form the finished product. So let's go ahead and turn the visibility off to this top layer, and then we'll enable the visibility to the actual bulldog. So you'll notice that when I turn this off and on, you can see the original and the finished product. Let's go ahead and open up the finished product by clicking on the disclosure arrow next to the thumbnail in the layers list, and you'll see that I have a group, so all of these are grouped together, and then within that group I've got all the different elements that make up Vinny the Bulldog. Now look at the very bottom one, this black type icon. I'm going to remove the visibility for that, and you'll see that all the black disappears. Let's actually move this to a different layer altogether. I'm going to add a new layer just above the original layer, and you can see that this one is named layer 4, and all I'm going to do is drag this base layer on top of layer 4. Now I need to restore the visibility to that layer, and then I'm going to turn off the visibility to these layers. So you can see that I have gone completely around the outside of Vinny the Bulldog, and then I've made the fill color black. So we have a great foundation now to where we can start doing the rest of the project. So once you have this base layer done, the next thing is to just go ahead and remove the visibility for now. Now you can concentrate on each of the smaller individual elements to make up the rest of the completed artwork. So for example, let's take a look at these spikes on the collar. This is basically very simple. Select the pen tool again, our most trusted friend in Illustrator, and make 3 points, connecting all of them back to the original point. Grab your direct selection tool, and then make 2 of these smooth anchor points. Choose the Alt key to move the handles independent of each other. In fact, you don't even need each handle on each anchor point. I can go ahead and remove this one, for example, and then I can grab this handle, hold down Alt to make it independent, and then I can adjust that as needed. And then I can go ahead and use this one, bring it in just where it comes to a corner. Let's go ahead and make that red so you can see it contrast. For the rest of the spikes on this collar, I would create individual elements that have 3 anchor points and just connect them all the way around. I don't need to do the black at all because that black is part of the foundation. Next, let's take a look at just one of these yellow areas. For example, let's take a look at this one right here. Again, we're just going to go ahead and grab the pen tool and start making anchor points on each of the corners. And you'll see that I have red automatically filling. This is because I chose red as the fill color on that spike just a minute ago. We can go ahead and remove that in a second. I'm just going to fill that in. And the reason why I want to remove that is because it's really hard to edit these anchor points without being able to see through the object. So we'll just go ahead and remove the fill for the time being, and then we can select these anchor points, convert them to smooth, and then we just get to work adjusting these as needed. In fact, I can lose that one most likely and just have this anchor point do all the work for that section of the path, and then we'll just keep on going. This looks straight enough right here, and then we'll go this one, remove that handle, and just work our way around. In fact, I don't even need this one. So there we have it, and then I'll just go ahead and make this the yellow that we've been using, and you can kind of get an idea of how that works. Now, you would do this for each one of these yellow sections, as well as this white section of the mouth. And if you zoom in, the key is to not repeat any work. And by repeating work, do not repeat anything that can be part of the black background that we set as the foundation. Let's take a look at how we can do that with this section here. You'll notice that I've got one random black piece right here, but it is right in the middle of a yellow section. Now to do that, what we would do is create a path that encompasses this entire section, and we would go all the way around excluding this part here using a compound path. Let's make this top layer visible again, and we will find this section right here. To do that, I'm going to just turn on the visibility. I'm going to select the group, and then I'm going to just drill in by double clicking. And now I've got this section selected. Now I'm going to double click and drill in one more time so that you can see I've got this path on its own. I'm going to back up in the group one more just so we can select it. And then if I choose Object, Compound Path, and Release, you'll notice that this filled in. So all I did is after I was finished creating this section, I then turned off the visibility to that section alone, which we can find right here. The blue squares on the right here indicate that that is the portion that is selected. So I'm just going to click out and then click again. And the point of that is so I can remove the visibility. Then I created this section here. I'm going to select the base for that again. And so now I've got both the base and this little eyebrow section selected. So with them both selected, I can now choose Object, Compound Path, and Make. And that cuts that little portion out. So the advantage to this is I can adjust the color to this section, and I don't have to worry about selecting this independently and changing that to black or whatever my base foundation is going to be. So that is a major benefit of using compound paths so that you don't have to recreate artwork that is found on the base layer. So that is some pretty involved tracing, but when you break it down into all of the smaller elements, it really is fundamentally easy. You just have to know and pay close attention to how each of the elements stack up in the layers. Layers are a very important piece to how your artwork flows in Illustrator. In fact, I will actually include a link to my layers video here on the screen so that you can understand how to really grasp the power of layers and using them in your projects. So now that we have Vinny the Bulldog created, it's really just a matter of getting us back to where we want to be. To escape out of my layers, and I've got these paths. We can just go ahead and delete this path and this path, and then add visibility to that one again, and we have Vinny the Bulldog. Again, just make sure that you break down each of your complex artwork into smaller pieces, and you'll be a rock star in Illustrator. Thanks for watching.